At the time of recording this, I'll be getting my dragon heart tattoo tomorrow, and I'm so excited. At the time of uploading this though, it'll probably be 2 weeks after, so excuse my arm for being naked at the moment. But with a dragon tattoo coming up, it's gotten me thinking of another dragon movie. One I've been meaning to review for a long time, the Pete's Dragon Remake. But why this movie? Because you know I love adorable dragons, and he is absolutely adorable. Hey guys, Blazie here, and welcome to this review of a live-action Pete's Dragon movie that came out in 2016, which is crazy to me that it's that old and it's taken me this long to get to it, so I do apologize to that. So, first of all, I will say, I have never seen the original Pete's Dragon movie. Let me know in the comments if I should do so. Also, give this video a like and subscribe and all that stuff. Thank you very much. But since I haven't really seen it, I don't have that dislike or love for the original and that kind of excitement or disappointment for a remake. For those who don't know, the original is a live-action 2D animated Disney movie. Yes, I'm talking about a live-action Disney remake, which are either meh, terrible, or the worst movie ever made.
Long live the king!
But this one flew under everyone's radar, but it's actually a good Disney remake. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I do love a dragon story, especially when a dragon is as cute as Elliot. Am I sad though he doesn't have the pink hair? Yeah, but that's just me. I like the dragon enough that I bought the Build-A-Bear plush, which has always been here. It's right up here. He's always been there. Though he does have like the dragon sounds in him, but now he just sounds like pig noises. Let me show you. Let's see how well this comes out. Yeah. Which I guess he's apparently like 10 years old-ish, almost 8 years old, I guess. So yeah, fair enough, it doesn't really work much anymore. But he's still a very cute plushie. Woo! But I got exactly what I wanted out of this movie, besides the ending, but I will get there. Which I will say, compared to the other Disney remakes, this movie is completely different, and really, it's just Pete's Dragon in name only. Which to me is perfectly fine, as if you're gonna do a remake, then make your own version of the characters and show some creativity. So what makes this movie good? Well, let's get into this review finally. This movie opens with feels, and it's honestly a really memorable opening that I was just hit with these wave of emotions, and like I still remember feeling those emotions the first time I watched this movie, and it's just like, oh, this has got to be something special. It wasn't, but it's still pretty solid. So, Pete, the human boy, is with his parents going on vacation, happily trying his best to read a book called Elliot Gets Lost. And then Bambi gets his revenge, making a car crash, and only Pete survives. Classic Disney killing off the parents. Pete gets the book and is chased by wolves into a forest, but the dragon saves him. And this scene here is just magical. The shot of a dragon walking to Pete is absolutely beautiful. The CGI is still really good and holds up quite well, and the music just kinda hits right. The entire scene is so charming as Pete then touches the dragon's hand and his fur turns all green, and it just feels so whimsical. That's kinda like a whole thing with this movie, it's just whimsy. This is just such a good, memorable opening with a big fluffy dragon. I don't mind the fluff. It does make him look cute and soft, which is kind of a point of this movie, so it works fine. I know there are people who don't like the fluff, but it works fine for this movie. We then get some narration from the kooky old man of the movie, played by Robert Redford, who is also the dad to the main character of the movie, Grace, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. He mentions the woods being famous for dragons, and that dragons live up north in the mountains, but sometimes they get lost from their family and end up down here in the woods, which is probably exactly the story is with Elliot, especially at the end. I also like the visual storytelling with Elliot having a part of his tooth missing and a scar up along his face, which could indicate he crashed down at some point or had his own car accident-like event happened that separated him from his family and so on. I do wish that is something they explored more, that you do get more of Elliot's backstory, but you get that feeling that Elliot understands Pete, that they are both lost. After the narration, some time has passed and Pete and Elliot are out living out in the forest, with Pete being a full feral animal, chasing bunnies, arguing with bears, and so on. Which, by the way, Pete is played by the older brother of the actor in Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Which, yeah, just a neat little fact for you. I also love they're not trying to hide Elliot here. He's out in the day, and again, the CGI still looks great. And I just love how you could really feel the weight of a dragon. Like, he's a big belly dragon, and you could feel that. Especially when we see them flying around. You could feel he can't maneuver around fast in the air because of his weight. Like, they really thought about how this dragon would move. Seriously, I love the flying scenes in this movie. And I do also just love Elliot. He's just so big and playful, like who wouldn't want that? He can also make himself invisible, which shows how he can stay in hiding. I will say, if the How to Train Your Dragon live action looks as good as this, especially with the flying scenes, then it will be amazing. Well, you would hope it'll look better with it being almost 10 years later. But seriously, the first 15 minutes of this movie is really damn good and absolutely had me. It hooked me in. I just love the interaction between the two. We then see Elliot chasing his tail around like a big dog. I guess with Toothless they went the cat route, while here they went the dog route. Pete also howls, showing how much of a feral lifestyle he has embraced. And then a cute moment, as I like pointed them out, of them looking up at the stars. I'm not gonna lie, it would have been great if you could make out the Draco constellation, just for a little westwards kind of Easter egg kind of thing. But the North Star ends up being like this constant thing in the movie as well. The next day, Grace shows up, who's a forest ranger, and Pete watches her as she throws away the keys to a logging company vehicle, of which her boyfriend owns. Like, you should not be in a relationship if your jobs are on such an opposite end of the spectrum that you're happy to sabotage him. Like, don't be in a relationship like that. Pete steals a pocket watch from her and finds the keys as we see the damage the company has done. Yep, it's one of those stories of save the forest. Kinda, not really, actually. They don't go deep into, like, the tree cutting story, even though it looks like it would. And maybe the film would have benefited from it. But no, they don't really do anything with it. Pete shows the stuff to Elliot, who then sneezes all over him because, gotta have something for the kids. If it's not farts or burps, then it's snot. Next they're in their cave, and Pete starts reading the book he had in the car, though he talks about the crash like that's how the story goes for him. It's just an interesting little moment with some good facial expressions from Elliot, and then we see him sleeping on his back like a dog. Again, he's just very cute and they nailed that, and, I love cute dragons. Pete wakes up to the sound of machinery and checks it out. We see here Gavin, played by Carl Urban, who is a villain kind of thing of the story, who is also the brother of Jack, who runs the place, who's the boyfriend of Grace. Yeah, it's all connected. Then the little girl pops up named Natalie. She sees Pete and follows him up a tree, and they both almost die in the process, so the rest of the humans come running, and they find Pete and kill him. I mean, they definitely could have. And then Elliot wakes up looking for Pete, which, yeah, another cute scene here. Elliot does see the humans and accidentally makes them aware of his presence, so now they're going hunting. Pete wakes up in the hospital but is able to escape and uses his animal-like skills to get away, though he is eventually caught and howls, which is quite sad. For some reason, Grace is allowed to keep Pete at her place while the hunters find the cave, end the book, and that's when Elliot reveals himself, scaring them away. Though, of course, we gotta have another snot moment. I haven't talked about snot, because, it's normally farts and burps, but, yep, there's mostly snot in this movie. Again, kids' movies, they do this. They drive off and Elliot follows them from up high. Natalie shows Pete human things, Grace finds out who Pete is, all while Elliot continues chasing down the car, and this part here did get a legit chuckle out of me. Honestly, if a movie had more of this, it would be perfect. But honestly, this is really the only moment that makes you laugh. Everything with Elliot is like, kids will laugh to it probably, but as an adult, you're kind of like, aw, he's just so cute. Pete finds a copy of the book and gets asked who Elliot is. So he draws up a dragon and shows it to Grace, who then talks about losing her own mom when she was young, and so now they have an understanding of each other. Gavin ends up at Grace's to tell them they saw a dragon, like the stories Grace's dad would tell them. Which then Elliot found the house, but of course at the time, sees them like a happy family reading the book together, so now it's all sad. You really do feel for Elliot here. He's done nothing wrong. His friend was just taken away and then he's like indoctrinated into his family. You really feel for him. Because now he's alone and it's really sad. Grace sees her dad to confirm what he saw when he was younger, if he really did see a dragon. So he explains a real story that's something more magical, as he says. So the next morning, Grace decides instead of taking Pete to social services, takes him to the forest along with her dad. They find Pete's home in the forest and Elliot shows himself, and all goes well until Gavin shows up, of course. They shoot him with trait darts and Pete tells him to fly, but he comes crashing right into the tree, which then comes down. Elliot has been caught. So with him all tied up, Grace realizes he needs Pete, and once she says that, he once again, becomes much more green again. It's something I do like and really wish they expanded on this little magical whimsical thing. They tried to make it too realistic, kind of real lifey kind of thing, and this is the one kind of weird magical thing. It really just intrigues me, I think it's more part of the magic the old man explained earlier that he felt. It's just like a special connection. And when the dragon is happy, he doesn't need to hide himself, so he shows his true color. That's kind of my kind of thinking of it is. Pete and Natalie sneak in to try and rescue Elliot, and the old man shows up, wanting to help, and drives the truck out Elliot is on. And everyone chases it down, so now it's like a classic kind of chase scene you kind of expect out of this kind of movie. Elliot tries to fly, but doesn't have enough strength and accidentally breaks the brake line, so they're unable to brake as they crash through Gavin's truck, but finally come to a halt. But now the police are coming and Elliot goes up on top of the bridge and Elliot blasts fire down in a pretty cool scene. Since he's never blast fire in the rest of the movie, you kind of don't think about him being able to breathe fire. So it's a pretty intense scene. It's basically he's angry at that point. And honestly, you feel that anger. You understand it. Though Grace and Jack are in the car and fight and almost get torched. The bridge starts to break, but Pete tells Elliot he needs him and he finally stops. Elliot then tries to help, but they all tumble down. Of course, somehow they all end up nice and safe. Elliot puts them down as Pete comes running up to him, and the way Elliot hugs him is just so wholesome and adorable. I just want to be hugged by a dragon like that. As a helicopter is coming though, Pete and Elliot fly off together, and they give us this amazing, gorgeous shot. More of this, please. It's seriously just a gorgeous shot. I love it. They return home, but Pete says they can't stay here anymore, and that people know where he is now. So Elliot shows him he can hide himself, and it seems quite pleased that he could do that. Again, it's just really, really cute. His goofy smile gets me every time. Elliot then shows him the book, understanding that Pete has found his family. So it's time for goodbyes. Pete returns back to the human world as Elliot flies off. But before the movie ends, time passes, Grace and Jack marry, and they take a trip to the mountains, and we see Elliot too found a family, which had me tearing up in the theater back when I first saw it. And that is the end of the movie. So let's start off with the bad. There's nothing overly funny, even with the kid stuff. There's really none of that besides like a couple of the snot scenes. So I don't really see kids enjoying this movie a lot. The acting is just middle ground okay. The story is basic with like a big bad logging company, which also goes nowhere. The villain had no idea what he was doing. It was like, oh, maybe I'll just sell him for money or something. He had no idea what he was doing, so he was just there. Ended up being more of a family drama movie, if anything. So there's like no morals or don't cut down the trees to the forest, you're destroying the homes of others or something like that. So it really didn't need to be a logging company. But every scene with Elliot is amazing. And that's what I'm here for in the end. Elliot looks incredible. Like I said, you feel the weight of him flying around. He is just utterly adorable and just so sweet and loving, so I'm here for his story. And I did generally feel sad for him. And that's why I don't like the ending in terms of like Pete and him going their separate ways, because of course that's how it's going to end. That's how it always ends. But it did make me tear up when I saw he found his own family. I think when it comes down to the dragons part of the story, they nailed it. And that's what I like about this movie. Everything else is kind of middle ground, so I can see why people don't talk about it much, because it's definitely one of those movies you watch once and forget about it. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I do remember the first 15 minutes, which is really good. I do think it's some of the best flying scenes for dragon live action stuff. I really do. I do think it deserves much more recognition in being a good dragon movie and a good Disney remake. Sure, I wish there was more flying scenes like that one gorgeous shot. It can be gorgeous sometimes. But for the most part, there's nothing new about it that things could feel kind of dull because you've seen it all before. So I'm going to give this remake of Pete's Dragon a 7 out of 10 foxes. It's definitely above average, and I definitely recommend you to watch it, especially if you do love dragon stuff. Absolutely give it a watch, because it is a good movie. But it does just fall into those basic kids movies kind of vibes, and like taking Pete away from Elliot took away some of those vibes I was enjoying. It's definitely a Disney remake that is a good one though, and should be recognized as such. It might be the only good one. Let me know down in the comments below if you have watched it, and while you're at it, go check out my Blue Sky, all linked down below. If you like what I do, please do go over to my PayPal or my Coffee, all linked down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Do let me know if you have watched it, or, you know, if you're going to watch it because of my review, or like if you end up watching it at some point because of my review. Then come back here and let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. Absolutely, I would like to know what others think about this movie, because, yeah, I don't think it's a perfect movie, that's why it's a 7 out of 10, but I feel like it's above average because of, like, those few scenes it did well. They did try to do something interesting with this movie at least, and I do appreciate those little moments. And again, the CGI still holds up quite well. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Please do give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because I love you if you do. Hit that bell icon, and VitoFox says, be who you want to be. Alright guys, bye for now.